So I guess it's time we should get into the World Fairs. So far we've talked about the Orphan Trains and the Cabbage Patch Kids, but what if I told you that there were entire nurseries filled with babies at the World Fairs? And strangely, nobody seems to be questioning why that is. These World Fairs were meant to show off the height of modern-day human achievements, showing off grand architecture, cutting-edge inventions, and a promise for a brighter future for all of humankind. Sadly, the World Fairs were no exception. Hidden underneath the glamour of it all was something much more unsettling. Rows of babies being put on display in these glass incubators for just the public to gawk at like some predator looking for its next meal. They claim that these incubators were made to show off the medical advancements for the technology to help these premature babies. Now, this all may be true, and I don't think anybody can deny that these incubators have saved the lives of hundreds of thousands of babies. But at the same time, let's take a look at the man behind it all. Now, there is a lot of controversy surrounding Dr. Martin Coney. Despite claiming to be a trained physician, there is actually no verifiable documentation of any type of medical degree. And evidence suggests that he immigrated to the United States as Michael Cohn, who had no formal medical training. His practice of displaying premature infants in incubators at amusement parks and world fairs striked up a bit of ethical concerns, with critics accusing him of exposing these babies for profit. Nonetheless, we do have to give him credit for the advancement of these life-saving incubators. One of the biggest questions we do have to ask is, where did all these premature babies come from? Where are the mothers? And a darker side of that is, if he wasn't a real doctor, then who was providing him with all these premature babies? And who really wanted to watch? And how can so many be willing to spend money to look at these babies like they're animals in a zoo? And remember, there were people held at these world fairs against their will. But that's another rabbit hole for another day. Once again, this is where it starts to get really strange. No one is asking where did these babies come from. There are few records, no mentions of the parents, no clear documentation. Were these really all just premature babies brought in for medical purposes, or was there something more sinister going on here? Remember, the Orphan Trains shipped over 250,000 children, stripped them of their identities, and just handed them off to new families. Some people believe that the World Fairs were actually just distribution centers, masked as entertainment, but in all reality just hubs for relocating these so-called orphans. Now here's where things get even stranger. Let's look back at the Cabbage Patch Kids, sold as babies that you could adopt with official paperwork. It mirrors the Orphan Train movement and the World Fair nurseries. It can't all just be coincidence. They're showing us the truth, it's just most of us don't want to see it. Alright, here's a rabbit hole for you. Some believe that these World Fairs weren't just about the architecture and technology. They were about showing off the results of human commodification. We have rows of babies in glass cages separated from any known origin. And I'm not just talking about science experiments. We're talking about mass human exploitation on a scale that we can't even comprehend. And while this might sound crazy, just ask yourself this. In an era of supposed simplicity, how were they able to build these magnificent cities practically overnight for these world fairs? Entire complexes that would be destroyed within years, if not months, leaving no trace behind. It's almost as if the people, the architecture, the babies, all of it, was just part of some type of big plan. A plan that I don't think we are supposed to be aware of. And here's another coincidence for you. Around the same time that all of this was happening, the amount of cases of missing children just happened to skyrocket. It just makes you wonder, was this pattern of disappearing children ever really stopped? Many people believe that these world fairs were more than just expos. Some people even suggest that these were just part of a global reset. A time when entire cities were just wiped out, people were relocated, put into mental institutions, buildings were rebuilt, history was rewritten. It may sound insane, but sometimes the most twisted truths are put right in front of our faces. Babies displayed like commodities, toys mimicking dark histories, and a naive society that just accepts it all without question. Probably why they want to keep us all distracted with all these devices that we have that we just can't seem to put down. But the real question remains, is this cycle still happening today? Hidden behind distractions, headlines, and a world just too numb to care? I want to know what you think. Were the World Fair babies just part of a medical exhibit just for the betterment of humankind? Or Were they showing us exactly what they were doing all along?